Welcome back to Nate's Garage and Bakery, where we're doing the unboxing for this Prusa i3 3D printer. It was getting a little bit lengthy, so I split it into two parts. And without further ado, I return you to your regularly scheduled program. This, well, it's a bracket, and it's got this piece here, which also was printed 3D. You can tell by all the striations in there. There are some individually packaged up little whatchamahoos that's in here. I believe these are the slides that go along the rods. So there'll be 6 of them here. 2 for each axis. The power supply. Excuse me. So this is why they give you the flying leads on the power lead, because you have to wire into that little power supply right there. And again, this looks a lot like those nice Astrodyne or Meanwell power supplies that you get. But obviously it's not one of those, it's just a power supply. Now I did already go and do this, but you will find that this 220 and 110 switch is actually switched to 220 to start with. So what you need to do is get in there and switch the switch, push it that way to 110, assuming that you're actually going to power this with 110, right? So there's your power supply. 12 volts, 20 amps. Plus or minus 15%. Oh, for the input. I thought that meant the output, and I was going to have to say, wow, that is a big... these are the couplers that go from the stepper motors to some of the rods. See the little doohickeys here? Those are actually not really springs, but they're meant to be buffers so that they're not completely solid links between the motor and the thing the motor is driving. They're meant to have a little give in them, a little bit of spring. So they're more or less cut like a spring, just a really thick spring. So those are the couplers that go from the motor to the whatever it's going to drive. Probably one of those threaded rods. There's a couple of those. Here we have our fan. This is what's going to cool our stuff. Obviously, it's got a lot of wire on there. Well, there's 2 fans in there, that's why. There is this fan, Shingshita model something, 12 volt, 0.1 amp. More or less your standard little small computer type of fan or otherwise. And then also the blower type fan. I'm not sure where all these are going to go right offhand, but also another Shingshita. This one's also 12 volts, 0.1 amps. So 100 milliamp little fans here. This one's got a cage blower on it. Woohoo! And then what do we have but the hot end itself. This is what's going to squirt the stuff onto your print to start with. So your filament will come down through here. This part right here is actually all heated. There is your nozzle. It's got a little 0.4 millimeter hole in there, tiny. I'm sure this camera is not focusing on that right now, but that's what it is. Some nice heat resistant wires coming on here, and some nice power wires. It doesn't quite smell as bad as I thought it would for being rubbery like that from something coming from the Chinese mainland, but there you go. So the little heating element with the nozzle and all that. And then what do we have but the rods that these little dudes are going to slide on. These are just smooth rods. There's 6 of them here. I'm sure 2 for each axis. And last but not least, the stepper motors that will drive all this stuff. Golden motor stepper motors. We've got, looks like 3 of this size. On the trace. Oh, that one's a smaller one, isn't it? No, it's not. It's the same size. So 3 of that size of stepper motor. These are all the same part number, I'm betting. 42 HD 4027-01. Yes, sir. S23s. So there are those. And then there's also 2 smaller ones. I believe these are for the Z-axis. I don't actually know. So yes, these are S22s, not S23s like those are. There we go. Also, Golden Motor. .cn. That does not stand for Canada. It stands for China. So there you go. That is everything in that there box. I believe. All very nicely packaged in these compartmentalized foam thingamabobs cut out specifically for each piece. So the stepper motors went, and the power supply, and a bunch of stuff that I forget where it all was, and the rods. Very well packaged. I'm impressed with the packaging. Now, the question is, will I also be impressed with the quality of how this thing's made? Who knows? Because you know what? I don't do this. This is the first 3D printer I've ever messed with. I have no idea. I like to jink with things, so this one's pretty jinkable from what I understand, and that's kind of why I got it, so I could jink with it. I don't know what the word jink means, but I'm using it. Got a problem with that? Didn't think so. Alright, well, that's it for now. Later.